Imagine this. You wake up in a world where every comfort has been perfected. Your bed adjusts to your body's contours before you stir. Your coffee brews itself the moment your eyelids flutter open. Your work is effortless. Your relationships unchallenging. Your days a seamless procession of satisfaction. There is no struggle, no friction, no unmet desire. And yet, a quiet unease gnaws at you. It's not pain, not sorrow, not anything so sharp as to demand action. Just a whisper, a ghost of a question. Is this all there is? You dismiss it. Of course this is enough. You are safe. You are content. You are, by every modern metric, happy. But the whisper returns, louder this time. What if happiness is not the point? This is the paradox of comfort. We spend our lives chasing ease, convinced that the absence of suffering is the highest good. And yet, when we finally grasp it, something inside us recoils. A voice, older than civilization, older than language itself, warns us that we were not made for this. Nietzsche called it the will to power. Not domination over others, but the primal urge to struggle, to overcome, to become. He saw comfort as a slow poison, a seductive lie that drains life of its vitality. Man does not seek happiness, he wrote. Only the Englishman does that. What if he was right? What if the pursuit of comfort is not the path to fulfillment, but its opposite? Consider the modern world. We have eradicated plagues, tamed nature, built systems so efficient that survival is no longer a daily battle. And yet, depression, anxiety, and existential numbness rise like floodwaters. We are the safest, most prosperous humans in history. And yet, something is missing. Not someone, the person we could have been, the person who fought for something. Here is the great question, the one that will not let you go. What happens to a soul that never has to struggle? We know the answer in our bones. We see it in the listless gaze of the overprotected child, the restless discontent of the idle rich, the hollow victories of a life without resistance. Comfort does not create strength, it creates fragility. And yet, we keep chasing it. Why? Because the alternative is terrifying. To embrace struggle is to court pain, failure, uncertainty. It is to stare into the abyss of your own limitations and still choose to move forward. Comfort promises safety, but the truth is far darker. It is a gilded cage, and the lock is on the inside. This is Nietzsche's warning. Not against hardship, but against the delusion that a life without hardship is desirable. To those human beings who are of any concern to me, he wrote, I wish suffering, desolation, sickness, ill-treatment, indignities. I wish that they should not remain unfamiliar with profound self-contempt, the torture of self-mistrust, the wretchedness of the vanquished. A cruel sentiment, or the only one that honors what we truly are? You feel the weight of the question. You know in some hidden chamber of your mind that this is not theoretical. It is a choice, a crossroads, and the clock is ticking. The illusion of comfort does not begin as a trap. It begins as a promise, one so deeply embedded in our culture, our biology, even our neurology, that we never think to question it. The promise, if you avoid suffering, you will be happy. But beneath this seemingly innocent axiom lurks a darker truth. The human mind was not designed for perpetual ease, the psychology of discomfort avoidance. From birth, we are conditioned to seek pleasure and flee pain. This is the foundation of behavioral psychology, the reward-punishment loop that shapes every habit, every decision. But somewhere along the way, this survival mechanism mutates into something pathological. Modern society has weaponized it. Advertising tells us happiness is a product to be bought. Social media sells us curated lives where struggle is airbrushed away. The entire architecture of late-stage capitalism thrives on one unspoken rule. Make people comfortable enough to never question, never rebel, never demand more than what is given to them. But this is not a conspiracy. It is something far more unsettling, a collective self-deception. We want to believe comfort is enough, because the alternative, confronting the necessity of suffering, is existentially terrifying. The Nietzschean lens, why comfort breeds decay. Nietzsche saw comfort as the enemy of greatness. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he warned of the last men, those who would one day blink at each other in a world without struggle and whisper, we have invented happiness. These are the hollow inheritors of a world that has abolished risk, challenge, and meaning. They do not create, they do not overcome. They merely consume until even that loses its flavor. This is not philosophy as abstraction. It is a diagnosis. When we remove resistance from life, we do not become happier. we become weaker. Our muscles atrophy, not just the physical ones, but the psychological ones: resilience, discipline, courage. The Jungian shadow, the unlived life. CarlJung understood that comfort has a hidden cost, the repression of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge because they are messy, dangerous, or difficult. The man who never faces adversity never meets his own strength. The woman who never risks failure never discovers her true capacity. By avoiding struggle, we do not transcend our limitations, we become them. Jung's warning was clear. What you resist persists. The discomfort we flee does not disappear. It festers in the unconscious, emerging as anxiety, depression, or a gnawing sense of emptiness. The Huxleyan dystopia, pleasure as control. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World was not a warning about oppression through pain, but through pleasure. In his dystopia, people are kept docile not by force, but by endless distraction, chemical happiness, and the eradication of all discomfort. Sound familiar? We live in an age where discomfort is treated as a glitch to be fixed, not a signal to be heeded. Antidepressants numb existential dread. Streaming services offer endless escape. The modern world is a Huxleyan carnival, and we have willingly bought the tickets. But Huxley's most chilling insight was this: people will come to love their oppression, to adore the technologies that undo their capacities to think. The existential vacuum, when comfort becomes a cage. Viktor Frankl, survivor of the Holocaust and founder of logotherapy, observed that the primary drive of human beings is not pleasure, as Freud believed, but meaning. Yet meaning cannot exist without struggle. Frankl called the absence of struggle the existential vacuum, a void that yawns wide when life lacks challenge, purpose, or sacrifice. This vacuum is not passive, it suffocates. We fill it with cheap substitutes, consumerism, entertainment, busy work, but the hunger remains. Because the soul does not crave comfort, it craves significance. And significance is only forged in resistance. The trap we built for ourselves. Here is the cruel irony. We are complicit in our own imprisonment. No tyrant forced us to prioritize convenience over growth. No law demanded we abandon discomfort in favor of distraction. We did this to ourselves, one small surrender at a time. Every time we choose the path of least resistance, we reinforce the neural pathways that make resistance harder next time. Every time we numb a discomfort instead of facing it, we shrink our own capacity to endure. This is the psychological equivalent of the boiling frog parable. The water was always getting hotter. We just refused to jump out. The greatest trick comfort ever played was convincing us it had no cost. We do not see the decay, not at first. It happens slowly, silently, like the erosion of a coastline by a gentle but relentless tide. One day we wake up and realize something vital has been washed away. But by then, it is often too late. The atrophy of the will. Nietzsche warned of the last man, the hollowed-out creature who has lost the ability to want anything beyond safety and petty pleasures. This is not a hypothetical. It is happening now, in real time. Neurologically, willpower operates like a muscle. When we repeatedly avoid discomfort, whether it's skipping a workout, procrastinating on a difficult task, or numbing emotional pain with distraction, we weaken our capacity for effort. The brain, ever efficient, prunes the neural pathways associated with discipline and builds new ones around instant gratification. The result? A society that can binge-watch an entire series in one sitting but cannot sit with its own thoughts for 10 minutes. The death of depth. Comfort does not just make us weaker, it makes us shallower. Great art, profound love, revolutionary ideas, these are born in the crucible of struggle. Dostoevsky wrote his masterpieces under the shadow of a firing squad. Beethoven composed his greatest symphonies while deaf. Van Gogh painted starry nights from the depths of madness. What happens when we remove the crucible? We get content, endless, algorithmically generated, disposable content. Not art that shatters the soul, but entertainment that lightly tickles the senses before vanishing without a trace. The modern mind, drowning in comfort, has forgotten how to dive for pearls. The illusion of control. Here is the bitter joke. We trade struggle for comfort, because we believe it will give us control over our lives. But the opposite is true. A life without resistance is a life without tension, and tension is the force that shapes us. Without it, we do not grow, we merely spread like formless liquid. Consider the addict. His pursuit of pleasure is absolute, yet he is the least free of all men. The comfort seeker is no different. He has simply chosen a more socially acceptable drug. The silent rebellion of the body and mind. The body knows what the conscious mind denies: chronic fatigue, mysterious aches, insomnia, anxiety disorders. These are not random malfunctions. They are the somatic screams of a soul that has been caged. Psychosomatic illness was Freud's great discovery. When the psyche cannot express its distress in words, it expresses it in symptoms. The modern plague of burnout is not a medical condition. It is the body's last-ditch effort to force a reckoning. You were not made for this, it whispers. Break free or break down. The social consequences: a world without teeth. A society that worships comfort is a society that cannot defend itself. History's great collapses, Rome, the Ming Dynasty, the Ottoman Empire, were not defeated by external enemies while at their peak. They rotted from within first, drowning in luxury, decadence, and the quiet erosion of the virtues that built them. The pattern is clear. 1. Comfort breeds complacency. 2. Complacency breeds entitlement. 3. Entitlement breeds fragility. 4. Fragility invites destruction. We are somewhere between stages 2 and 3. The most dangerous lie: you deserve this. The mantra of the age is self-care, a term that once meant preserving one's ability to fight another day, but now means little more than indulgence without guilt. You deserve a break. You owe it to yourself. Treat yourself. These phrases are psychological Trojan horses. They smuggle in the assumption that comfort is a right, rather than what it truly is, a reprieve. But nature does not care what you deserve. The universe is indifferent. Either you grow strong enough to meet the challenges of existence, or you are swept away by them. The point of no return. There comes a moment when the damage is irreversible, not biologically. The body can recover from astonishing abuse, but psychologically. When a man has spent decades avoiding all discomfort, his nervous system rewires itself to interpret any struggle as existential threat. This is how we get grown adults who collapse under minor criticism, who crumble at the first sign of conflict, who see disagreement as trauma. They are not weak by nature. They are weak by practice. The realization hits like a lightning strike. You have been complicit in your own domestication. But here's the secret. The same neural plasticity that allowed you to atrophy can be harnessed to rebuild. The path to liberation is not found in rejecting comfort entirely, but in mastering it. This is not self-improvement. This is self-reclamation. The antidote: voluntary discomfort. The Stoics knew it. The samurai lived it. Nietzsche preached it. Strength is forged through deliberate struggle. Begin small, but begin ruthlessly. Cold showers, a daily baptism in discomfort, rewiring your tolerance for adversity. Fasting, not for weight loss, but to remember that hunger will not kill you. It will sharpen you. Digital asceticism. Delete the apps that fragment your attention. Let boredom return, for it is the birthplace of creativity. These are not hacks. They are declarations of war against the tyranny of ease. The Nietzschean transformation, amor fati, love your fate. Not in spite of its hardships, but because of them. Every obstacle, every rejection, every moment of suffering is raw material for your evolution. The man who loses his job discovers his resilience. The woman who endures betrayal learns the depths of her own worth. This is not positive thinking. It is alchemical thinking, the ability to transmute poison into medicine. The Jungian crucible. Facing the shadow, CarlJung's prescription for the comfort-sick soul was brutal in its simplicity. Find out what a person fears most, and that is where he must go. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is your unlived life. The parts of yourself you abandoned because they were inconvenient, messy, or frightening. The shy man must learn to speak. The people-pleaser must learn to say no. The perfectionist must learn to fail publicly. Discomfort is the price of wholeness. The existentialist gambit, choosing your struggle. Sartre was right. We are condemned to freedom. The modern tragedy is that we use this freedom to construct ever more comfortable prisons. Rebellion begins with a single question: what struggle is worthy of me? The athlete embraces the burn of training. The entrepreneur courts rejection daily. The artist stares into the void of creation and refuses to blink. They do not seek suffering. They seek meaning and understand that the two are inseparable. The warrior's paradox: discipline equals freedom. Every ancient wisdom tradition converges here. The Spartan agoge, the monk's asceticism, the martial artist's kata. Ritualized discomfort transforms chaos into mastery. What looks like oppression from the outside is the ultimate liberation, freedom from the tyranny of base impulses. When you can stand in the winter wind and not crave shelter, you have become ungovernable. The counterintuitive truth: comfort is the real struggle. The sedentary body fights chronic inflammation. The unchallenged mind wages war against itself through anxiety and rumination. The overprotected soul becomes its own jailer. True ease comes not from avoiding difficulty, but from becoming so strong that what once seemed difficult now feels trivial. The elite performer's flow state is not the absence of challenge, it is total immersion in a challenge perfectly matched to their capabilities. The first step: a ruthless audit. 1. Identify your comforts, not just physical, but psychological, the beliefs that shield you from hard truths. 2. Ask the terrible question: what is this comfort costing me? 3. Design your own discomfort protocol, systematic exposure to the very things you've been avoiding. This is not masochism. It is renegotiation, your conscious self taking back control from your fear-driven instincts. The ultimate realization: you were never meant to be happy. You were meant to be alive, bloodied, sweating, triumphant in the arena of your own becoming. The myths got it right. The hero must descend into darkness before claiming the gold. This is your call to adventure. The comfortable life was the prologue. Now the real story begins. There is a moment, rare, electric, irreversible, when the final veil lifts. You see not just the prison, but the key you've been clutching all along. This is the Nietzschean epiphany. The obstacle is the way. Not metaphorically, not philosophically. Literally. The cosmic joke. All this time you believed comfort would save you from suffering. But here's the punchline. Comfort is suffering in slow motion. The anxiety of an unchallenged mind, the atrophy of unused potential, the gnawing guilt of knowing you're betraying your own greatness. These are not lesser pains. They are greater ones, precisely because they have no honorable cause. At least the warrior's wounds tell a story. What tale does your Netflix binge whisper to the darkness? The alchemy of adversity. Every spiritual tradition holds some version of this truth. The crucible transforms lead into gold. The womb of chaos births new worlds. The phoenix must burn to rise. You thought these were metaphors. They are operating manuals. When Nietzsche declared God is dead, he wasn't celebrating. He was issuing a warning. Without transcendent struggle, man becomes less than human. Your deepest despair is not a sign of failure, but of untapped potential trying to break through. The existential equation. Frankl's logotherapy reveals the devastating arithmetic of modern life. Suffering equals pain plus meaninglessness. Remove either variable and the equation collapses. This is why ascetics endure unimaginable hardships yet radiate joy. Their pain is sanctified. Why martyrs sing in flames. Why mothers labor willingly for love. Your problem was never suffering. It was wasted suffering. The antidote to the age. We stand at the precipice of Huxley's Brave New World. Not in chains, but in velvet-lined cages of our own making. The way out is neither revolution nor retreat, but something far more radical. To love the struggle itself. Not in spite of its difficulty, but because of it. To see each challenge as the universe's way of asking, how badly do you want to be alive? The ultimate rebellion. The most subversive act in an age of comfort is simple: to become dangerous again. Not to others, to complacency, to the lie that safety equals happiness, to the cowardice masquerading as wisdom that says, don't risk it. Let your body hunger. Let your mind wrestle with unsolvable questions. Let your heart break open instead of calcifying. This is how gods are made. The final realization. You've had it backwards all along. The goal was never to avoid the abyss, but to dive in and discover it was never an abyss at all, but the very source of your power. That time you almost quit, that was the fork in the road, that heartbreak that hollowed you out, that was making space for something greater. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence isn't a thought experiment, it's an initiation. If you had to relive this life exactly as you've lived it, infinite times, what would you change? The answer whispers back, everything, and also nothing. Because even your suffering was necessary. Even your comfort was part of the curriculum, the invitation. The comfortable life isn't wrong, it's incomplete. Like a fire that never learns it's meant to burn. Like a bird that mistakes its cage for the sky. Your greatness doesn't lie beyond struggle, it is struggle, transformed. The same energy that now fuels your anxiety could propel you across oceans. The focus you waste on avoidance could build empires. This is the secret the ancients guarded. You are not here to be happy, you are here to become. The rest is commentary. Now, what will you do with this fire?